Everyone says EVs are the future of sustainable transport, but is this true? While other companies were busy investing thousands of dollars into more advanced EVs, Toyota was doing something completely different. The company's brand has always been about being reliable, efficient, and innovative. And they just pulled off something huge that could end Tesla and all the other EVs out there. Toyota, along with the Chinese GAC group, has come up with the world's first engine that runs on ammonia. Could the ammonia engine mark the end of EVs like the CEO claims? Let's find out. Now, ammonia engines might sound unbelievable, but they're pretty simple. Instead of burning fossil fuels like oil or gas, which is a non-renewable energy source that comes from burning ancient decomposing plants and animals and can really make our planet heat up, they use ammonia, made of hydrogen and nitrogen and commonly found in fertilizers. And the best part, when you burn ammonia, you don't produce any carbon dioxide emissions, which is a big win for fighting pollution. But wait, how does that even work as a fuel source? Now, there are a few ways these ammonia engines can work. Some split the ammonia into hydrogen and nitrogen, and then use the hydrogen to generate electricity. Others blend ammonia with other fuels like diesel or hydrogen before burning them together, making combustion easier. And then there are the engines that run solely on ammonia, but they need some fancy tech to make them work efficiently. Why is this so revolutionary? To understand that, you'd have to keep watching for this next part. Besides being cleaner and more sustainable, ammonia engines could offer a cheaper way to power vehicles and cut down on greenhouse gas emissions. Plus, they could reduce our reliance on fossil fuels, which is a big win for the environment. Curious as to how that would happen? Stay with me here. You see, in the future, one of the most alarming things that we need to address is global warming. Sure, we can't put an end to it, but there are ways to ensure that the worst is yet to come. It's no secret that our planet's climate is significantly changing due to human activities, and that the transportation sector plays a huge role in global warming too. This is exactly why using liquid ammonia as a fuel might help us solve the issue, at least partially. But wait, what about the size of the engine? Wouldn't ammonia need a huge space? Not exactly. Let me explain. One of the biggest advantages of using ammonia is that it packs a lot of energy into a small space. This is because of its energy density, which is important for things like transportation and making power. Not to mention, it's also really easy to get a hold of. Since ammonia is made up of nitrogen and hydrogen, you can easily extract these two substances from air. Because while you might not realize it, ammonia is everywhere. It's not just for fertilizing crops, but it also plays a key role in lots of different things, from making explosives to nylon and synthetic fibers. Ammonia is used in just about everything. Plus, you can even find it in things like paints, cleaners, and even in your fridge as a refrigerant. Does that mean you can turn it into a fuel source yourself? Probably not, but it does guarantee this next thing. This accessibility makes it even more exciting for the future of ammonia-powered cars. And that's where Toyota comes in. Wait, what's Toyota got to do with it? Why are they such major stakeholders in this entire thing? Keep watching to find out. Now, for those of you who don't know this, the Chinese company behind the prototype engine that runs on liquid ammonia is partly owned by Toyota itself. And believe it or not, during the initial rounds of testing, engineers found out that by using liquid ammonia, carbon emissions were cut down by almost 90%. Of course, none of this happened overnight. From managing the pressures from burning ammonia to handling extra nitrogenous emissions, the engineers at GAC and Toyota had to deal with many challenges to make these numbers a reality. And because ammonia doesn't really catch fire as easily as most fossil fuels do, it was a lot harder to manipulate it and use it as an energy source. But thankfully, the engineers burned the midnight oil. Quite literally! And came up with a solution that might just give EVs a run for their money. And if you're dying to know what that is, you're gonna have to wait until the end to fully understand it. An engineer from the GAC Research and Development Center even said that he's optimistic about ammonia's potential for all sorts of uses, considering how they were able to speed up its burning process. So while there might be some challenges ahead, it seems like we're on the right track to using much cleaner fuel in the future. Coming back to the dynamics of the fuel, we already know that ammonia isn't as easy to light up as regular gas. Its chemical composition is unlike most of the hydrocarbons we normally consume. But that's why it burns a little slower too. So doesn't that make it a bad fuel? Why are we even talking about this? Not so fast. Now, ammonia's slow burning effect makes it a tricky substance to deal with. But since Toyota's got a huge stake in the company that's making the engines, it's likely that ammonia-powered engines might become common a couple of decades down the road. What's interesting is that the concept of using liquid nitrogen isn't exactly new. Previously, this technology was used for ships, freight trucks, and farming equipment. But now GAC has claimed that their 2-liter, 4-cylinder engine can crank out 161 horsepower using ammonia as fuel. While a lot of gas-powered engines can crank out around 200 horses with that displacement, 161 is still the perfect figure for most people. The thing is, liquid ammonia, when combusted properly, has the potential to be totally emission-free, which means no carbon, no hydrocarbons, no carbon dioxide, and no nasty particles polluting the air. But there's also an ugly side to it too. And if you want to understand what that ugly side might be, keep watching. Sure, Toyota partnering up with GAC might just change the automobile landscape. But while these engines might sound cool for now, let's not forget some concerns most engineers have. For starters, you might know that ammonia isn't exactly known for being the friendliest chemical around. It's got tons of toxic warnings slapped on it. So it's not usually the first choice for being an energy fuel for cars. Safety and costs are an issue, and if these engines don't handle the pressure or boost, they could end up spewing out a ton of nitrogen into it. And that's not exactly good news either. You see, if an engine powered by liquid ammonia isn't tuned up right or starts misfiring, it could be pretty harmful. How? Well, it's easy, really. We're not talking about a couple of jerks on the road. We're talking pumping even more ammonia and ozone into the atmosphere. And if that happens, then things like acid rain, respiratory problems, and birth defects could be the new normal. So when it comes to improper combustion, ammonia could pack a punch in all the wrong ways. Because unlike crude oil, you can't just pump it out of the ground. It takes a lot of energy to turn liquid ammonia into a usable fuel on a large scale, which beats the purpose of going green, right? Then there's also the issue of infrastructure. You'd need loads of fueling stations that can safely handle and distribute ammonia. So think about all the tanker trucks and trains carrying this stuff around. We'd be on the edge too. Now, according to science, ammonia is stored almost the same as propane, but it's still far more corrosive and can mess up your eyes and lungs when exposed. So what's Toyota and GAC doing to avoid all of this? Well, Toyota's pretty big in China, and they've even made electric cars specifically for that market. But here's the thing, they're not just sticking to one type of technology. Nope, they're all about giving people options. That's why they're diving into stuff like ammonia-powered engines. But like we just talked about, they need to do it in a way that's safe for both the environment and the people using it. This is why they're building on existing research already done by Korean engineers a decade ago, where they blended ammonia and gasoline in a car called the AMV. It was a big deal back then because it slashed carbon emissions by almost 70%. Now, looking at GAC's engine, you might notice a bit of carbon dioxide production. That's because they're probably mixing in another fuel to help things burn better. Mixing in another fuel could make it work even better, making the engine more practical and easier to use. Now, as we already mentioned, Toyota's got a big stake in the company that's making these engines. So it means that they're serious about finding clean ways to get us around. In fact, they're even testing out hydrogen-powered engines in things like racing cars. Now, China's a huge market for EVs, but they're still big on traditional engines too. Although it seems like that might change soon. Apparently, China might follow California's lead and ban old-school engines. That's where alternative fuels like hydrogen and ammonia come in. But Toyota's push into ammonia engines shows that the brand is serious about finding greener ways to get us moving. So, what do you think? Are ammonia-powered engines the answer to a sustainable future? Can they actually beat EVs when it comes to being an eco-friendly choice? Let us know in the comments and hit that glowing subscribe button for more videos like this.